it's this one. So we just finished, feels like ages since we've been looking at it, but we finished number 2 there, top there. So we're up to number 3. Shall I start?
Yes, please.
Okay. When you lack confidence in what someone will do, you are attesting to your belief that he is not in his right mind. This is hardly a miracle-based frame of reference. It also has the disastrous effect of denying the power of the miracle. The miracle perceives everything as it is. If nothing but the truth exists, right-minded seeing cannot see anything but perfection. I have said that only what God creates or what you create with the same will has any real existence. This, then, is all the innocent can see. They do not suffer from distorted perception.
Wow, that would cover then all judgment that we would ever have of anyone.
Yeah. That's basically just right judgment on top of that one.
Yeah. And I love that one line where it says, the miracle perceives everything as it is. If nothing but truth exists, right-minded seeing could not see anything but perfection. Where I stumble a bit on that, and you can add, you can give me your feedback on it, V, is that, let's say, I'm going to put it into a context. So let's say if you have an employee that you're training and you know that they're not competent in the job, either for poor training or they're just not competent. I'm wondering how that context fits into this.
That's something I struggle with in the book throughout, actually, because we do have to deal with the 3D world. We have to deal with the mundane tasks that are placed in front of us that don't really seem to have any miraculous or perfection thing about it. But I guess, like, accounting doesn't feel very spiritual most of the time. But I'm thinking, I think of the mundane little things that I'm doing, and knowing that I'm being of service in some little way, and that's kind of what helps me there. And with people, I guess, if someone's in a job that they're not suited for, the only thing you can do is actually, I don't know, maybe, well, they need to be in another job. So their perfection is elsewhere. Their perfection is elsewhere.
I love that refrain. Your perfection isn't here, it's elsewhere. That's really good, V.
Hi, Joey.
I like it. Hey, Joey.
Hello.
There you are, handsome. What are you doing?
Trying to stay awake.
Oh.
Yes, I hear you. I don't know where you are, Joe, but it has been 108 degrees here in Arkansas. Never in history here has it ever been that hot here.
Wow.
And this is like the second week of it.
Wow.
So it just wipes me. I can't even go outside. It's just too bloody hot.
Right.
It's dangerous hot. Yeah, it's wild. So we're talking about how to find perfection and have confidence in what someone will. Well, this may be the out of it be. It says, when you lack confidence in what someone will do, not what they're doing as far as a job, but will do, you're attesting to your belief that he's not in his right mind. So is it that if we put that into the context of when you lack confidence in what someone will do, is that like that's not like a job kind of thing, but it is like, will they be insane in this moment, or will they act normal? Will they be aggressive and whatever in this moment, or will they not be?
So it's placing an expectation on the future rather than what's happening right now. And
Yeah.
that's creating that, whatever you're thinking is, whatever it is, that's not miraculous, it's not perfection, you're creating that rather than
You're at least supporting, you're at least giving testimony to that and supporting it in thought. You know, choosing to see the separation and the condemnation rather than choosing to see that this person is like, let's say, you know, the Son of God, or they're you know, the same as you in the Holy Spirit. That would make more sense to me. What do you think?
Yeah, just a little tweak of language there.
Yeah, when I read the first line again, it kind of made more sense to me then. Should we read again, since I don't know when Joe came on? I don't know if you heard number 3. Did you, Joe?
No. I'll read it again.
Okay.
When you let, and I noticed this even like one time in the Facebook group, I actually did a lesson twice and I didn't realize. And the second day I did the lesson, I had a completely different perspective. So you don't waste any time going over it again, that's for sure.
No, that's for sure.
When you lack confidence in what someone will do, you are attesting to your belief that he is not in his right mind. This is hardly a miracle-based frame of reference. It also has the disastrous effect of denying the power of the miracle. The miracle perceives everything as it is. If nothing but the truth exists, right-minded seeing cannot see anything but perfection. I have said that only what God creates, or what you create with the same will, has any real existence. This, then, is all the innocent can see. They do not suffer from distorted perception.
It makes more sense to me now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because again, I think that distinction between timing, like what will do, being future-based, the miracle perceives everything as it is, which is presence.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Joey, do you have any questions or comments on this paragraph?
Just rereading towards the end. It's just hearing me read through it, it kind of made me think of something where, like, basically, if you think you leave your car unlocked all the time, you're going to get robbed. Well, it'll happen, type of thing. Or if you leave it unlocked and don't think you'll get robbed, you won't, type of thing. It's one of those, no matter what, you're right type of situations. And I'm trying to figure out why that popped in my head while going through this.
Well, it's something like that. It's whatever we're attesting to, we strengthen. And I think what this is saying, that if you don't trust someone, then choose to create that miracle of that sense of oneness with that person, or see their essence as the spark of the divine, and then, you know, that will be what you strengthen in that person, and that will be what you strengthen in yourself. I think that's what it's saying. Fee, do you see anything different?
I agree with that, and I think I've just remembered an aha moment I had about time as well, because this, you know, we've had a lot of discussion about time isn't real. Time doesn't exist. We've manufactured that. And my example that kind of finally made it make a bit of sense for me was with these mastermind calls, we all have to work out what our time zone is so that we can get on the call. But once we're here, there is no time. It doesn't matter if it's dark at your place or light at my place. It doesn't matter. There's no time here when we connect like this. Yeah.
True. I'll read the next one, number 4. You are afraid of God's will because you have used your own mind, which he created in the likeness of his own, to miscreate. That's confusing. The mind can miscreate only when it believes it is not free. An imprisoned mind is not free because it is possessed or held back by itself. It is therefore limited, the will, and is not free to assert itself. To be one is to be of one mind or will. When the will of the sonship and the Father are one, their perfect accord is heaven. Okay, this is going to take me a touch of time to decipher. Does anyone have any insight on this one?
It's tricky to know when you are miscreating, that's for sure. For me, it's like that connection to what I consider divine, to God, whatever that is, doesn't happen all day, every day. So it's hard to distinguish between what I'm miscreating and what would actually be my mind in unison with the greater spirit kind of thing.
Well, this is a sentence that kind of fumbles me up. You're afraid of God's will because you have used your own mind, which he created in the likeness of his own, to miscreate. So is he saying God's mind or God's ability to create is to miscreate? Or am I just reading that completely wrong?
I feel like the bit that's after which he created in the likeness of his own shouldn't even be there. If I just read, you are afraid of God's will because you have used your own mind to miscreate. And you're miscreating because you are not creating in the likeness of his own will.
I see. So if we just take out that, which you created in the likeness of his own, which is just supporting God's will, I get it now.
Yeah.
Miscreate. Okay. Yeah, I got it. The mind can miscreate only when it believes it is not free. An imprisoned mind is not free because it is possessed or held back by itself. It is therefore limited, and the will is not free to assert itself. To be one is to be of one mind or will. When the will of the sonship and the Father are one, their perfect accord is heaven.
I wonder if this is what it's talking about. As an example, when I come into a conversation and I've already made up my mind that I'm the expert and whatever you say is going to be wrong, then I'm miscreating. And I used to have these lovely Swiss friends who we're having a conversation with them. It was just so much fun because you'd have an idea and they would build on your idea with their own stuff, and it just felt like you were creating something bigger without any judgment. There was no judgment in any of that. It was just, let's explore that kind of curiosity and sense of fun is probably what the will of the sonship is.
I love that about Europeans. They because they've suffered so much, they see the nonsense in futile conflicts and disagreements. It's very interesting. If World War II had a gift, it was that. Okay. Are you guys noticing that every page, every paragraph says fundamentally the same thing? It's all about the oneness. It's always about the perception of oneness and the choice to perceive that way. And then everything comes good and everything goes bad when we're looking at divisions and we're looking at the other as the other. I have a question for you guys, just out of my own frustration in the practice of this. How well are you guys doing not judging the environment, the politics, the personalities in your life, how well are you doing?
I don't pay attention to the politics, but it's a lot easier here because our politics is nowhere near as dangerous as it is in the US.
It's
That's
super
how I
dangerous
feel.
right now.
But I
Yeah.
know that there are a lot of people who disagree with me and say, we've got policies coming up which are going to be, really, really bad. But I kind of just think it's all going to fall apart anyway. So why stress about it? All this fake stuff that's going on. Does it matter?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Joe, what's your slant on that? What's your take on it? How are you doing with that task?
Well, the other day I had the actual radio on, and they talked about the top 25 movies of the last 25 years, and I'm like, huh, cool. And then they went through the movies, and there was probably about 15 that I never even heard of. I don't really pay attention to any of it. I catch news feed stuff here and there, like when I open up to do a Google search, or I may see stuff on social media, but I'm not really affected or bombarded by news media. Some people, like my parents, will watch the news media, YouTube stuff, and I mean they'll have that on all day long, and it's like, how can you deal with that? Like, how can you just keep taking all of that stress in? But for me, I tend to just not put it in front of my face.
I do think that that's the trick, to tell you the truth.
I mean,
I
don't
have
get
a
me wrong.
tendency, I have a tendency to go to Yahoo News too much. I'll be hanging out answering my emails, and all of a sudden I'll just click over to Yahoo News and read some, and I'm like, I just need to stop that, because it is a bit like putting conflict into your mind, and none of it is actually good or bad. It's just, it creates fear, I think, more than anything else. It just creates fear, which doesn't serve any of us. And you never know what to believe anyways.
That's right.
So difficult.
Yes. It's even, yeah, like even with the medical, system and drugs and whatever, or how to help yourself with your health. Basically, I just have to believe what my body's telling me, and it doesn't really matter what the science is saying anymore, because the science is being manipulated as well. So it's, it doesn't mean I won't go to a hospital if I've got a broken bone, but I'm just very
No,
careful.
I totally agree. I mean, Doris has cancer on one of her kidneys, and she's 93, and they wanted to operate immediately, and she's like, nope, not going to do that. If she would have done that, she would be dead right now, for sure. She would be dead.
Is this Robert's mother?
Yeah.
Well, she's still all right.
Yeah, she's still fine. She had this big cancerous growth on her back, and some skin cancer thing that looked really like an alien. And then, Robert tried to get an appointment with a dermatologist to take her there, and and then he lifted up her blouse to look at her back, and it was gone.
Wow.
It's like it fell off. So we're looking at it going, well, it's like, when it's your time, it will be absolutely your time. And the whole prostate thing for me, when they were planning this whole 38 sessions of radiating my entire pelvic bowl, finding cancer that no scan can find. So since they can't find it, they're going to just blitz my pelvic bowl. And I'm like, And then I find out that I go and get a PSA test, and the PSA test was like 9 points lower than the PSA test they were using to design this protocol. And so I called up the radiologist and I said, well, there's this 9-point difference. It's like, why is that? And he goes, oh, well, different labs will give you different test results. And I'm like, you're designing this whole protocol, irradiating my body. I know you're going to hit my bladder because you can't see the bladder, and you're going to ruin my continence for the rest of my life. And you're doing that on an inconclusive test. It's like my middle finger just went up in a most aggressive manner. I was like, no, just no. And so, I don't trust the medical community. And that one ER doctor that I had in one of my classes just said, I mean, he looked at us all, he said, the medical system is broken. Beware. Like, broken. So I'm like, yeah, avoid hospitals as much as you can.
Yeah, I'd be a little scared going to one with a broken bone, V. I'd be afraid they try and give me the jab just to come in the door to get fixed. There's so much terrifying crap happening within the medical system.
It's true.
And Gary, I think it's so true what you say. When it's your time, it's your time. So why make it more miserable than it has to be?
I know. And, the more I read and research about trauma, the more I understand that 3/4 of this, literally 3/4 of it, if not more, is based upon the stress factors of how we perceive our everyday world and life, which is based upon the unresolved traumas that we carry with us in our nervous system. They have these little wires on the end of our chromosomes called telomeres. And the length of the telomere is literally the length of your life. Is like how much youth you have, the biological age of your body. And stress and fear shorten the telomeres down to like next to nothing. And if we look at epigenetics, that actually puts the whole body into this cesspool of fear and worry that shifts on epigenetically the transgenerational traumas and propensities for disease that's been handed down in your chromosomes for time immemorial. The more you calm your body, have very little stress, no worry, hopefully no fear, the better your body does. The longer you live, the healthier you are. And it really has to do with the joy that you start finding in life. And I'm looking at that going, well, wow, maybe my number one priority needs to be have as much fun as I possibly can and be in as much joy as I possibly can. Because I'm thinking that's probably the fountain of youth right there.
I'm actually reading a book on telomeres as well at the moment. It's very interesting.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are they talking about the stress factors and
they're talking about
epigenetic environments?
It's what's up here, and the rest will flow. Yes, attitude and thought processes.
Yeah, and all of what we're reading is a vehicle for that. But I think what happens is that most people, because they haven't done enough work, and that's not a slant on anyone, people just don't know how. But if they've not done any internal work, especially on the traumas that they carry, there is, in my humble opinion, very little way that they can actually move past it, because you're in the physical body, your body's going to go into fight, flight, or freeze automatically by the triggers that you face out here. Therefore, you don't have control over the biological responses and the neurological responses that you perceive by having, the sort of fight, flight, or freeze syndrome that happens to all of us with unresolved trauma. You can't control that. So unless we are able to like lessen the heat on our traumatic events, I don't see how we can possibly, follow and adhere to the Course in Miracles sense of oneness. I mean, I'll always remember this. I went to a Marianne Williamson's lecture, and you guys know who Marianne Williamson is, right? No, she was the one, Joe, that interpreted the Course in Miracles and made it much more simplified and became world famous because of it. Bill Thetford thought she was just terrible, like a terrible person. He said that's the last thing anyone should be doing to the Course in Miracles. But she did that. And I was sitting in this lecture, and all of a sudden there was some, like helper person, usher person walking back and forth for whatever reason. She was walking back and forth, helping people or something. And Marianne Williamson just stopped talking and started screaming at her to sit down and stop moving, that it was distracting her and she's off message because of this woman walking back and forth. I'm just sitting there going, wow, this just does not seem real enlightened to me. It feels like this is a woman on the edge of a breakdown, and I thought, here she is teaching about the truth here, the Course in Miracles, and she's losing her emotional shit all over some poor woman that was just trying to be an assist. So it was interesting. And so I asked, how do you guys handle it? Like before we got on, I found some more memories I wanted to work on. I even cried on one of them, actually, which, God, I haven't done that forever. And just decoding my nervous system as the negative memories kind of pop up again. And I think, oh, I forgot that one. And I jot it down, I do the work on it, and just lowering the temperature on myself. I don't know about any of you, but I think, and Joe, I know you've had a lot of trauma. Is that true?
Is my giggling saying any definitive?
No, I can't read any of it, Joe. But yeah. I really do think that it becomes important that and Joe, I should probably just send you the manual too and help you learn this stuff, because I know you haven't signed up, and I kind of know why, and that's fine. But I do want to be able to help you be able to resolve some of the stuff that's happened to you, because I think it's pervasive. And V, say again?
I had like an epiphany on some of that too. I've essentially been chasing so hard what I wanted to make happen instead of attracting and allowing things to happen. And as I sit back and look, it's like, wow, the past few months I was busting my butt. This last month I kind of gave up and just started relaxing, but I chased so hard for that first 4 or 5 months that I realized, wow, I ain't getting nowhere, and just kind of had to sit back and reset in a sense.
You know what would be awesome for you guys? V, I'll send you the manual. Joe. Just don't give it to anybody else. But V, you know the process. And why don't you, if you guys want to do this, I'm volunteering you to do this with each other. But V, why don't you practice with Joe and then teach Joe how to do it so he can practice with you. And then Joe, you can start using it in your practice, because this stuff will change people's lives in a session. And if you learn to do it, it'll help you shine a lot brighter. V will get practice, you'll get some relief. And then when you're ready and you want to learn it, then you and V, you can work with V and V can work with you. Are you guys up for something like that?
Good with it.
Perfect.
You should be. I just gave you something really incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
No, it'll I just got off a call with one of my clients I've been seeing who's signed up for everything, and he's like, my life's already like completely different after like 3 sessions and the ultimate mindset, and I can't even imagine what it's gonna be like after the coach certification and the trauma certification. But he was like one bundle of violent reactionary qualities, and it changed. And when we look at the course and we go, wow, imprisoned mind is not free because it is possessed or held back by itself. And I really do believe that most people's minds are imprisoned, including our own to some degree. I choose to hallucinate to a lesser degree than many, but I'm not so sure.
Well, I know mine is more free than it used to be, and that's
Yeah, mine's definitely more free than it used to be.
yeah. And I know that there's more to go because I don't know how far we can go. We don't know unless we try different things.
Well, I think it can go very far,
Mm,
and I'm hoping for that.
mm.
Let's go to the next one, B.
Yep.
Joey, you want to read the next one?
Give it a try. Nothing can prevail against a son of God who commands his spirit into the hands of his Father. By doing this, the mind awakens from its sleep and remembers its creator. All senses of separation disappear. The Son of God is part of the Holy Trinity, but the Trinity itself is one. There is no confusion within its levels because they are of one mind and one will. This single purpose creates perfect integration and establishes the peace of God. Yet this vision can be perceived only by the truly innocent because their hearts are pure. The innocent defend true perception instead of defending themselves against it. Understanding the lesson of the atonement, they are without the wish to attack, and therefore they see truly. This is what the Bible means when it says, when he shall appear or be perceived, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is.
That has a lot in it.
Yeah.
Interesting. I love the first line where it says, nothing can prevail against a son of God who commends his spirit into the hands of his Father. Question for you all. Has anyone ever had a point in their life where they just surrendered it over? Like, I can't do it. I can't figure it out. It's in your hands. You show me the way. What happened for you, Joe?
A lot of realizations after my last relationship ended, and it was one of those, the key factor is me. For some reason, I'm attracting this type of person, this type of mindset, this type of trauma. I'm tired of it. I'm not going to keep doing it. I'm done. I am the key factor in all that is, pardon my French, fucked up in my life. Therefore, something on me that I've got to work through, understand, and all of that. In a sense, going through all of that. I mean, it was a couple-hour conversation with the board of directors here, and it was just one of those. I surrendered, and I, not every day, but every day for a while, I asked to surrender deeper, and I still a couple times a week do.
What was the emotional pattern that actually is the thread that ties all of these relationships together? Is it is it you being blamed? Is it you feeling like a victim? Is it criticism? What's the emotional chain that runs through them all?
Well, really, I just had a vision of how vast majority, if not every single one of my past relationships was in a sense the same type of mindset. I mean, it may have been painted with a different picture, but it was still underneath ultimately the same type of go. And every
Well,
time
what's the emotion, Joe? What's the emotion? What's the
that
commonality of the emotion that runs through all of them? It's some form of fear.
what's really coming to my mind is a lack of self-love for myself, just wanting to receive a love when with not really knowing what love was, and it didn't.
Do you experience the inability to attach, to connect?
In a sense, yeah. There, I know after some stuff I've caught the other day, I realized there's a lot more to attachments issues that I realized. So there's some more within that realm I'm digging into.
I'd like you to pick up a book, Joe. It's called The Myth of Normal by Gabor Mate or Mati. The Myth of Normal.
How say that again? Gabor?
Yeah, Gabor, and the last name is Mate, Mati. I'd pick that book up and especially read about, detachment syndrome. It's when we're rejected by a parent early on in our very early development years, or the parent isn't there or present for us. We will not allow ourselves to attach because that fracturing initial original wound is so painful that when someone attempts to attach to us, we will not let them in fully because of the betrayal of the original betrayal.
Yeah, there's some of that in the 6-year-old era. And then when they did come home, once a week they came home, and that's when all the ass whoopings were handed out for all the crap you did wrong during the week.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a yay, I get to see such parent. It was, oh shit. Hide the belt, run for your lives.
Yeah, that's when love is paired with violence or paired with having to protect yourself, paired with stress, paired with fear. Yeah. So it happens neurologically and it happens at the brain development level. So this is why resolving that stuff is so vitally important, because when we do that, then we start lessening the impact of all of it, and we're able to open up more, and we're able to be in a long-term relationship. But you've got to do that work. V, is any of this resonating with you?
Oh my gosh, this is what I did most recently. And it was the same feeling was coming up in a particular circumstance with Murray. And the funny thing was, Linda and another friend were here at the time when I was feeling this feeling of, just waiting for something to go wrong, basically, of feeling rejected, that something better was appearing for my partner and I would be rejected. And Linda and another friend were here and they're going, what are you worried about? He loves you. What are you worried about? And it was just really interesting because of all the stuff that I've done with you, and finally being in a relationship where I can look at myself and go, here's a trigger, and not get all, not go down the rabbit hole with it, but go, this is interesting. Detach from a little bit and go, this is interesting, what's causing it? And going through the trauma release process with about 5 different memories around rejection. And then one day I was just going out to hang out washing, and the feeling of rejection was gone. and the same circumstances have come up, and the feeling's not there anymore. And I have complete confidence in the relationship and myself.
Beautiful.
That's how it happens, V.
Yeah.
That's how it
Yep.
happens. I mean, this shit can change your life.
Yep.
And stop you from destroying it.
Yep. And self-sabotaging. I mean, I could have, ended the relationship there and then.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. Okay. V, do we have anything we want to say about number 5?
Oh, when that last sentence, Gary, this is what the Bible means when it says, when he shall appear or be perceived, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. Reminds me of that story that you had of the American Indians when the first ship arrived and they couldn't actually see it, but they could see the change in the waves on the shore, but they couldn't actually see the ship because it was nothing they'd experienced before.
Yeah. Because it was so far outside the realm of their experience that the retina of their eyes could not register to their brain. And so they didn't see them. For like 2 months, the ships were out there docked and the Indians never saw them. Very trippy. So I don't know about all these Christians thinking that they can hate up on people and then thinking that the second coming's coming and they're the chosen ones and the rapture is going to take them away. I'm like, dudes, if you're not loving like Christ, you're not even going to see the rapture. You won't even know. It'll be interesting. Okay.
We can only see what we are.
We can only see what we are.
Cool. Shall I read the next one?
Yeah.
The way to correct distortions is to withdraw your faith in them and invest it only in what is true. You cannot make untruth true. If you are willing to accept what is true in everything you perceive, you let it be true for you. Truth overcomes all error, and those who live in error and emptiness can never find lasting solace. If you perceive truly, you are cancelling out misperceptions in yourself and in others simultaneously, because you see them as they are. You offer them your acceptance of their truth so that they can accept it for themselves. This is the healing that the miracle induces. Replace distortions with trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. I really do believe that that's what causes the constant distortions is the unresolved emotional states around the initial ones that fried our nervous system.
I feel like we've kind of done this from previous conversations.
Well, yeah, I just, it always goes back to, you have to see the truth of oneness and all that. But I'm sitting here thinking, like I did this memory where my mother used to come into my bedroom when I was a little boy and she'd be drunk and naked and had just gotten into violent fights with my father. And she'd be painted up with war paint like an Indian. And I am completely, totally traumatized because I think she's going to kill me. I mean, I really think she's going to kill me. And she does the Lord's Prayer with me instead. Like, holy shit. And she did that often. And I was sitting here before we were going to meet, and I got that image in my mind. I thought, oh, I got to do that one. So I started doing that. I just had just tears flowing like a little boy, just terrified. And this is like your principal bloody caretaker who you think's going to murder you. And I'm thinking, how much would that have fried my little brain? And then I think, no wonder I had learning disabilities at that age. No wonder I couldn't learn. I couldn't read. I couldn't write. I couldn't do arithmetic. None of it made sense because my nervous system was fried. I'm thinking, yeah, it all just kind of went fit together. How long have I been doing this, V? And that one I just got. Slow and peeling. Oh, it's wild. It is a great, it's a great adventure here, I have to say.
Yep.
A great adventure. Does anyone have any questions about this? This last paragraph? Because I get it, but does anyone have any other questions?
I just really love that line. You cannot make untruth true.
Yeah. And I love this one too. If you perceive truly, you're canceling out misperceptions in yourself and in others simultaneously. So if you see the truth about another person, it automatically cancels out the illusion, and they even benefit. Oh, you want to know something interesting? Remember those that big fat woman used to come to the pool with all of her outrageous children?
Mhm.
Well, when I did that work and I did all that, about 2 weeks later, they disappeared and they've never been back. They've never come back to the pool. I don't get it. I'm like, wow.
Gary passed a test and it's no longer affecting him.
I guess so. I just don't know. But I shifted this in here and, you know, it's like it stopped showing up.
Mhm.
Very interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah. Want to go to the next one?
Oh, Joe, do you want to read that one because you've got the book, haven't you? I don't know how big it is.
Perception versus knowledge. We have been emphasizing perception and have said very little about knowledge as yet. This is because perception must be straightened out before you can know anything. To know is to be certain. Uncertainty means that you do not know. Knowledge is power because it is certain, and certainty is strength. Perception is temporary. As an attribute of the belief in space and time, it is subject to either fear or love. Misperceptions produce fear, and true perceptions foster love. But neither brings certainty because all perception varies. That is why it is not knowledge. True perception is the base for knowledge, true perception is the basis for knowledge, but knowing is the affirmation of truth and beyond all perceptions.
So what springs to mind when you read that, Joe, for me was that if we are certain that other people are, I mean, for me first, I have to get past my initial judgments and then look at, I have to do it deeper. I just can't go right to, oh, this person's the spark of the divine. Sometimes I can, but not often. Most of the times I have to look at it from the perspective of, you know, I have no idea what built this person to behave the way they're behaving. I have no idea what's happened to them and how they've responded to what's happened to them. And I just have no way that I can say that that person is X, Y, or Z. All I can say is they're responding to the collection of the events of their life. And at the heart of it, there's a person calling out for love. That I can get to pretty easily. One of the people participating in the training was a guy who I've known him for a long time. He's just been like casual student that shows up periodically. But what I didn't know, from birth, he was given into foster care. From birth, he never had any bonding with his mother. His mother gave him up immediately. And she did that with 5 or 6 of his brothers and sisters. He has never had a parent that loved him and bonded to him and made him feel safe. And I thought, oh my God, I had that for sure. And what the heck would have to happen in his mind at 60 years old to have lived his whole life in this sorrow and pain of never being loved? And the abandonment and the inability to create those neural pathways, shocking. It's an emotional wound that is so damaging. When he was telling me his story, and I was like, wow, I had no idea. But, he's all fired up to do this training. He's all fired up to do his personal work. And I'm thinking, you'll make a whole heck of a lot of progress, and that's going to be awesome. The only thing I can ever say to him as a reframe is, you were given the gift of life. Your body's a temple. Now use it to reach the highest level of spiritual progress you can. It doesn't matter who loved you and who didn't, who was your parent or who wasn't. You've got the gift of life. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that is the truth. We're here for a reason and a purpose. And all of us, have been through hard things. But at the same time, I think we're meant to overcome them, realize them as the illusion they are, and then evolve to the course, being able to see perfection everywhere. I think if there's any purpose for suffering, it's to get us to the point to where we break through it because we keep seeking for answers. And then once we have the answers, we're able to do the course in a way that is automatic. That's my hope, at least for myself. Does anyone have anything they want to share about this, or anything they see that they may want to add?
It's funny how you were talking about, you had trouble learning because of your trauma and being in that state. But I also think that what we're learning in schools isn't knowledge either. It's just kind of the conventions to get us through this 3D life. But knowledge, sometimes I've experienced having knowledge is when I've thought something or someone said something, and this has happened when you've said it several times in classes, Gary. It's like, oh, well, of course. And there's no need to even dissect it. It's just, well, of course, that just makes sense, I can't think of a specific example, but does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
Like, because of all the academic learning I've done, that's not knowledge. It's just something I've got to learn to get through life, but it's not knowledge. It doesn't help me become a better human.
Very true. Certainly not wisdom. Well, it's 8 o'clock straight up, gang. Are we ending with number 1?
Number 2 would be the next one.
Okay, good. So we will remember.
Yes, I will make it.
I know what your sentence or your words going to be, Joe.
Do you read me that well? Are you
Hit
taking
it, Joey? No, I'm not going to take it. I'm too kind of a person for that.
Oh yeah, because I wrote it down earlier. You cannot make untruth true.
B?
I'm going to be the spark of the divine this week.
Awesome. I would love to come to Western Australia just to meet Murray, you know.
He's a character.
Here's mine. Nothing can prevail against the Son of God who commends his spirit into the hands of the Father. I love that.
Hmm. Cool. All right.
Okay, gang,
Same time
are we
next
on
week?
for next Tuesday?
I am. How
We
about
are.
you? Cool.
Yep,
How about you, Joe?
I'm good.
I'll be here.
Awesome.
Okay, gang. You have a lovely night, and I will send those banners off. Joe, do I have your email address? And if not, could you put
Yeah.
that in chat?
Yeah,
Open up chat.
I can throw you a quick email.
Okay, that'd be awesome.
Put me up top for you.
Okay, that'd be awesome, buddy.
Appreciate it, Gary. Thank you so much.
No worries. I'll get that stuff off to you as soon as I get that. Okay. And work together, you guys. You guys can
Yeah,
like
definitely.
do miraculous things. It'll be awesome. Okay. Bye.
Great. Thanks.
Bye,
See ya.
everyone.
Bye-bye.